on, guys? Good morning. Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well. Welcome back to another edition of the Transfer View. It is Thursday, KG's favourite day of the week. Thursday, tier 9 KG, Thursday. And I saw someone in the chat, big up Michael earlier on, said, scrap Thursday, it's Ugarte Day, because today is the day that Manuel Ugarte will be announced as a Manchester United player. Certainly, according to all the reporting online, he's now completed his medical. We're going to get the announcement later on today. Don't know when, but when we do get that, we will be here, we'll be discussing it. So we'll be chatting about that, some details overnight. Medical, as mentioned, has been done. He was also spotted, I think, out with his agent, George Mendes, who's finished the saga. He finished the story, Cody Rhodes style. He's finished the saga. That is Manuel Ugarte to Manchester United. So we'll be chatting about that. The Scott McTominay moved to Napoli. We got a Here We Go a couple of days ago. McTominay, there was some people a little bit concerned. Why hasn't he flown out to Italy yet? I heard he was going to fly out, I think, like 3 or 4 different times. We've heard he's going to fly out or he's flying out, and then we get another report saying he's not flown out just yet. So we'll talk about that this morning as well, as that one inches closer. Jadon Sancho. What is going to happen with Jadon Sancho? We're going to talk about what's going to happen with Jadon Sancho this morning because there's reports of a loan offer. Well, there was quite a lot of reports yesterday regarding Jadon Sancho, with Fabrice Hawkins saying there was a loan with an obligation to buy. Then there was reports saying, no, that's not really happened. There is no deal just yet. There was other reports suggesting he's holding out. He's waiting for Chelsea as opposed to wanting to go to Juventus. So, there's so much going on there with that one. So we'll be chatting about that too. And of course, anything else that happens. I mean, there's the little game called Manchester United-Liverpool coming up at the weekend too. So yeah, there's a bit about that too, and anything else as I mentioned that happens in between. We'll be discussing it. We're here, we're live. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe. Bottom right hand corner, I can see the chat is filling up as we speak. Daniel Luciano says, morning Owen, big up UV fam. Nikhil says, big up UV community, hit the likes early. What else we got here? Nessie says, happy Thursday, Owen and UV fam. Happy Thursday indeed. PK says, Ugara Day. I mean, it's Ugarte. I like that. I don't mind that one. That one works. Lamino says, good morning from Berlin, UV fam. Ponty says, good morning, everyone. S. Matthew says, morning, everyone. I can see everyone in the chat. Flip says, good morning, United View family. Everyone's filing in. Indeed, everyone's filing in. So be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe. Busy couple of days on the horizon, yeah? Busy couple of days. Obviously, we've got the transfer deadline day tomorrow. I mean, we'll get to it later. We got some. Actually, you know what? Let's screw it. Oh, and screw the format. Let's do it now. We've got a busy couple of days when it comes to all things happening here at United View. As you can see in these wonderful new graphics that were created just last night. Ta-da! Tomorrow, you've got the likes of the Transfer View in the morning. Yes, you've got that going on. Then you've got the Europa League draw. We think it's going to be happening around midday. We're going to find out who we're going to be playing. And then we got the Trinity podcast. That's going to be happening later on in the evening. And possibly even after that, then it's going to be deadline day. We'll be live at 9 o'clock until the deadline at 11. So there's so much to get into over the next couple of days. So when it comes to all of this, you know what to do. Subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Click the notification bells. You'll be notified when we're live for all that kind of stuff, because anything could happen at any point. And look at that. Huh? Yeah. Josh Media, graphics guru, visual ninja. He works in mysterious ways. So let's get into this Ugarte stuff. Because today, as the thumbnail says, today is the day. We got all of the stuff yesterday. Late last night, Florian Plettenberg saying, done deal. Manuel Ugarte has successfully passed his medical at Manchester United. Announcement probably today, that being Thursday. The 23-year-old Ugarte, new defensive midfielder of Manchester United. News confirmed, George Mendes did it. He did it. Saga is over. Now, a bit more. Fabrizio Romano said Manuel Ugarte day at Manchester United this morning. He then followed that up with a little bit more with another tweet this morning, saying Manuel Ugarte has successfully completed the main part of his medical tests at Manchester United. Final steps today at Carrington. Manchester United and PSG are set to sign all documents today for €50 million deal plus €10 million in add-ons. So it is going to be set to be completed today. Whether or not that means he's going to be, training or anything like that. Well, we know that obviously I think the deadline for him to be registered The deadline for him to be registered is Friday, midday, I think, to be registered for Sunday. So one would think he will be registered in time. As far as will he start against Liverpool, I'd be very, 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 very surprised at this stage if he started. Not impossible. Like this transfer window, anything is possible. But at this stage, I'd be very surprised. Given Ten Hag's track record of throwing people in, I know he has done it a couple of times, right? Mazraoui, Antony, and sometimes the kind of rules about why or why not people can or can't be available when it comes to Erik ten Hag can differ. You know, wow, they've played Copa America. Leach's Martinez starts all the games, but it's Leach Martinez. So what are you gonna do? But I'd be at this stage. I'd be very surprised if he started on Sunday. But as I said, anything's possible. Like anyone else, I'm just glad that this deal is now done, obviously, because it was a couple of days left of the window to get it done. But let's face it too, for the last, 2 weeks maybe? Maybe about last 2 weeks, there's never really been any doubt that this deal would get done. It was just a case of what version of this deal is it going to be? Is it going to be a loan with an option? Is it going to be a loan with an obligation? Is it going to be a permanent deal? If it is a permanent deal, how much is going to be fixed? How much is going to be add-ons? How much is going to be... Is there going to be a sell-on clause? All that kind of stuff. And then factoring in the outgoings as well at Manchester United. Is McTominay going to leave? Is Jadon Sancho going to leave? Is this player going to leave? What are we going to do? And because of that, there was still a lot of moving parts and spinning plates. But the hope would be that again, that it's now all done, and he can be integrated as soon as possible. But as far as for the weekend against Liverpool, I mean, the problem is with these announcements, isn't it? When it comes to all this, is it doesn't necessarily mean they can't train already. I mean, that last part from Romano there was quite interesting, because you got Florian Plettenberg saying medical's done, it's all done deal, the announcement's going to happen today. But then that last bit from Romano there said that he's completed the main part of his medical test at United, final steps today at Carrington. So I don't know if there is a little bit more to do in the sense, and I don't mean this in terms of an announcement delay. Of course, I mean the announcement's coming today, but I mean it just in terms of training. You know, is it going to be a case of there's a couple more things to do, then he can go straight into training, or is it going to be, well, there's a couple more things to do, so actually his first day training might actually be tomorrow, and because of that, it's going to be quite late for him to possibly even consider being involved in the starting 11 against Liverpool. Because, of course, we know that De Ligt and Mazraoui, before they were even announced, they were involved in Manchester United training, weren't they? The medicals had been done. The deals were complete. It was just a case of Manchester United getting all of those things, the sort of promotional PR announcement stuff together. But everything else had been done, so they were going to be training. If Romano is correct in saying, well, he's completed the main part of his medical, there's still a few things to do later today, maybe that would delay things, maybe it wouldn't. I don't know. My hope would be everything's essentially done. He can train today. The stuff he's got to do is very, very minor, and then he can get involved in training, and then possibly a couple of days of training under his belt, maybe Eric goes, well, let's take a risk. Given the result last weekend, maybe he might be a bit more inclined to take a risk, right? One thing's for certain, I know that obviously he might not be totally up to speed. Of course, he played in the Copa America, wasn't involved in the first few squads of PSG season, etc. Maybe didn't have a huge amount of pre-season with PSG as well. But if you look at his fitness record, if you look at his injury record is phenomenal. Which, I mean, welcome to Manchester United. Get ready for that to turn upside down, right? But legitimately, I'll have a look at it once again, because I was looking at this on social media the other day, and it is actually pretty phenomenal in terms of games missed in his career. So Manuel Ugarte is 23 years old. So he's got a few seasons under his belt at this point. In total, in his career, he has missed 5 games through injury. And to kind of even put that on even more, 2 of those games were for COVID. So in terms of actually being injured, a physical injury, not an illness, He's only missed 3 games with an arm injury back in August 2020. Now, obviously, you feel kind of a bit nervous saying it out loud, don't you? You feel a bit weary saying that out loud because you don't want to happen to was it O'Reilly at Brighton? You know, step on the pitch, opposition player goes right through you, injured, hurt yourself. Can't really do much about that. But my sort of point I'm making there is this is clearly someone that's very fit. I mean, you look at his stats just in terms of on the pitch as well, you know, with duels and tackles and what have you. So clearly has no problem getting around or no problem building up his fitness or anything like that. So if there was a player that maybe didn't have a lot of training, not a huge amount of pre-season, but could go into a team and be like, right, let's see if we can get 60 minutes out of him, it would probably be Ugarte. It would probably be someone like that in terms of we can rely on him. We can, we can get something out of him for 60 minutes. So I think that's very encouraging too. But if that doesn't sum up, the whole stuff about injuries and stuff like that, I don't know what does, because we are just as nervous signing someone that basically doesn't have an injury history as we are with someone that does have an injury history. We are that scarred that it's like if someone does have a very varied injury record, a bit like maybe Mazraoui, they go, I don't know about that. Sign someone that's basically never been injured. I don't know. Come to United, he'll be injured. It'll be. I don't know about that. We're so in our own head, and that's what makes me laugh with this Chiesa stuff. Because I saw obviously Liverpool signing Chiesa. Was it like 10 million quid? It's a great value for money deal in terms of talent to money, clearly. But he's missed something like, was it 400 days? Over 400 days of injury and a huge amount of games for injury over the last 3 or so years. But if you want to look at the difference in media perception between Manchester United and Liverpool, is I have largely seen over the last 24 hours nothing but really sort of universal praise for the signing of Chiesa. It's great business. Very, very smart. Well done by Liverpool, but very, very well done. And I thought to myself, if the shoe was on the other foot, oh my God, if we even dared go towards Chiesa, even for 10 million, this is the problem with United, isn't it? This is the problem with United, signing an injury-prone player. I was surprised how quickly it got glossed over, the injury record with that. You know, bear in mind, we signed Matthijs de Ligt, and there was about a week's debate across all media platforms about he's quite injury prone. He got kicked out of the team for Eric Dyer, and it wasn't even true. Wasn't even true. Whereas you got factual information about Chiesa, and it's like, yeah, actually, you know what? Smart business. Well done. Very well done, Liverpool. So they're only signing another transfer window, one they can actually use. Their goalkeeper's been loaned back out. But that's their only signing, and that's genius. That's genius. And I just thought to myself, if that was the other way around, good God, could you imagine? Could you imagine the reaction to that? It is madness. And again, I think 10 million quid, you don't lose too much value for money. I think he's even taken a pay cut going to Liverpool. I think it's fine for Liverpool. And if Man United did that, 10 million, and he wasn't on big wages, I think it would be fine. But I'm telling you now, Fleck, yeah, the discussion and the debate on it would be just madness. Absolute madness. So to circle back to Ugarte, I think that should be something that should be discussed, is the fact that a guy doesn't get injured, hasn't got injured that much in his career. That's another fantastic part of it. The best ability is availability, isn't it? Look at someone like Bruno Fernandes. For a while, that was the thing with Harry Maguire, wasn't it? That's the only good thing about him, is that he could that he's available. So that's encouraging. So when it comes to that, I think that I'd be surprised, but it's not impossible. It's not impossible indeed. And if he does start at the weekend, I mean, what a game. You can see it right there on the right-hand side of the screen. I'll be live 2 hours before kickoff, Sunday at 2 p.m. Kickoff's at 4. And, what a game that would be. What a game that would be to make your debut in. Just a little bit here from Fabrizio Romano on another signing for Manchester United. He has said that Manchester United will formally complete Sekou Kone deal today, as 2006 born midfielder is undergoing medical tests right now. Maybe he's undergoing those medical tests with Ugarte. Deal already done and signed between clubs. Exclusive story confirmed. So I don't know how what United are going to do with that. I don't know if they're going to do a whole pomp and circumstance announcement with it, or it's a thing that's done. I think that's a sort of interesting subplot to this transfer window, actually, isn't it, as well? Is these sort of signings of these young players. Obi Martin, Kone, as the guy from Crystal Palace, I forget his name. Someone let me know in the chat with that one. Because you've obviously got these high-profile signings, 5 through the door. Your Mazraoui, De Ligt. Obviously, you've got Ugarte. You've got Xerxes. You've got these really exciting players, Eleni Yoro, obviously, but then also the sort of undercurrent to it is actually these sort of, I say high profile, it's not the right word, sort of quite high reputation young players from these other academies around the world, to the point that they've got enough of a reputation to the fact that when United do sign them or do make a move and do get them, it's discussed and talked about on social media. And that's kind of like planting seeds for the future, isn't it? Lucille, is that it? Planting seeds for the future. And when the future, you would hope it's the relatively near future, and by that I mean, maybe next couple of years, something like that. I mean, with Kone, it might even be a little bit quicker. I think the Obi Martin stuff, Laurie Whitwell said it. I know that Flex had heard it on tour as well, that don't assume he's going to be in, first team squads or anything like that. Might be in training, maybe, but he's largely going to be playing his games with the under 21s. Kone might be a little bit different. He might be training with the first team. Definitely not going to be going straight in or anything like that, but he'll still be playing quite a few games with the youngsters. But because he is a bit older, I mean, how old is he? 18, I think he is. One would think that if he does have a good year or something, or he might be in a first team squad for a Carabao Cup game, perhaps. We've got Barnsley in the third round of the Carabao Cup. So you never know that kind of thing. He might be a bit faster, but definitely not the case of dropping them in straight away. But it's funny with young players, isn't it? We saw it with Kobbie Mainoo, that and we've seen it a few times actually in Man United history, and just in general, I suppose, in football, really, that being an academy player, young player in football is a really, there's talent that goes in it, and obviously if you've got great talent, that's part of it. But another part of it is just luck. I mean, it is just pure luck, pure circumstance. Someone might drop out, someone might be injured, or you come on for 5 minutes, you get a goal, or you do this great cameo, and everyone goes, actually, that wasn't bad. And even that might be a product of, I wasn't really going to be on the bench, but then someone got ill or something, or this happened. So you never know what can happen with young players, is my point, that Kone might be earmarked for, that'll be next season or maybe the season after. We want to build him up, take some time. He's obviously got to adapt to the club as well. But something can happen. And then next thing you know, he's involved, and then he's playing more regularly. So anything can happen with that kind of stuff. But maybe it's a double deal day for Manchester United, right? A double deal day. How exciting could that be? But I don't know how much United will sort of announce that. We shall see. We've got close to 1,600 people watching already, which is fantastic. We're just under 400 likes. If you haven't already, click the like button. Let's see if we can get to 750 for Ugarte Day. Ugarte. I still need some work, that one. But if you haven't already, click the like button. And be sure to subscribe. Less than 300 subscribers to go into 176,000 on the run to 200k. 200k, wow. Now the party, I keep saying to Flex, you've got to start scouting venues, yeah? It's like WrestleMania. They go around to all the different cities. They talk to the local governments and say, we're thinking about having WrestleMania here. They say, well, this is what we can offer. This stadium is what we can offer. And I say, Flex, you need to do the same thing. Go around to all the counties in the UK, or the countries maybe in Europe, or around the world. Go, hey, 200k. What should we do? We're in deep discussions with SoFi. for that one, yeah? SoFi Stadium. That's what it's going to be. 200K. It's going to be the most over-the-top thing you've ever seen in your life. Yeah, and that's what it's going to be. Yeah. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Bottom right-hand corner. Where are we going to next? I caught up with all the chats, I think, Cam. Yes. Right, let's talk about Scott McTominay. Because, of course, when it comes to Scott McTominay, he had been seen as a period of time as sort of the make-weight for this Ugarte deal. We know that he is indeed going to Napoli, and it's getting closer and closer. We already had the here we go. It looks a bit weird, doesn't it, with him being in that Napoli kit there in the Photoshop, doesn't it? And it's always, you know what I mean? It's always funny when you see the Photoshops during transfer season. Some are good. Some aren't so great. So you see a couple. There was a couple of those Chiesa one yesterday to Liverpool. I saw KG quote tweeted this going, I don't think it's the best work. But sometimes you got to do it quick under pressure. So shout out to them. But he said Manchester United and Napoli have signed all the documents for a Scott McTominay deal. He'll be in Italy later today. That being today, wasn't yesterday when there was all of this stuff about whether or not he was going to be in Italy, wasn't going to be in Italy. But he'll be in Italy later today to sign a long-term deal at the club for €30 million package plus 10% salon clause. Duncan Castles has kind of opened up on this one a little bit more, given some more details of this deal, saying guaranteed €30.5 million to sell Scott McTominay to Napoli. And just for a bit of context, this is why I wanted to include this tweet actually. In terms of comparison, just to how bad our business has been in the past and how significant this deal is. You may not think it's significant because it's Scott McTominay leaving. But the guaranteed €30.5 million to sell Scott McTominay to Napoli is the fifth highest transfer fee ever secured. Ever secured by Manchester United. It's the highest since Romelu Lukaku's 2019 sale to Inter. It's the third highest profit on a sale, surpassed only by Cristiano Ronaldo and David Beckham sales to Real Madrid. Manchester United also secured a 10% salon clause for the Scotland international. Once again, if you're ever wondering, why is it so, Man United, they're not very good at selling these players. They're not very good at moving these players on. Look at the history right there. I mean, that is just so jarring when it comes to Manchester United's inability to sell in the past. That this is the fifth highest transfer fee ever secured by Manchester United and the third highest profit on a sale, surpassed by only the greats that are Cristiano Ronaldo and David Beckham to Real Madrid. That is insane. That is insane. And that is why when we're talking about, players going and what have you, obviously we have players earmarked that we want to go, that we think that they should go. The time is done for them. They've reached their natural ceiling. They might not be good enough for Manchester United. They should go. But Manchester United have been run so badly as an efficient football club in terms of moving players on or in terms of putting themselves in position where they can sell players with relative ease because the wages aren't too high or what have you, or the transfer fees that they paid from the first place weren't too high, and they put themselves in a good financial position. We just don't do that, to the point that Scott McTominay going to Napoli represents one of the biggest exits that we've ever done. So that's why I think, again, Ineos deserve a lot of credit for pulling this deal off. And I know that when you say that, people might roll their eyes and go, giving Ineos credit for selling McTominay, what next? And you go, well, actually, when you look at history, that's quite a big thing for us because we're not very good at it. We can't do it. We're not very good at doing it at all. And as far as McTominay, I think this is a really good move for him. I think that obviously, he was linked to the Fulham the Fulham transfer. And it's funny how things work out, isn't it? It's funny how things work out with all that kind of stuff, how sort of the window plays out. And you kind of realize what was maybe true, what wasn't true, and what have you. Because in retrospect now, given the fact that we've got Ugarte, McTominay's out the door, it would appear that Sander Berg stuff was largely tactical. You know what I mean? Largely tactical to move things around, put out the message that Manchester United were looking at alternatives, looking at options. They still really wanted to do Ugarte, but it was a sign that Manchester United could have alternatives and options if they wanted to, and they could pursue them if they wanted to. With Fulham as well, they end up getting Sanderberg, and everyone basically got almost what they wanted, really. Man United wanted Ugarte. Fulham wanted a central midfielder. They got Sanderberg. McTominay wanted Napoli. He's gone to Napoli. Took a little bit longer, but everyone really got what they want in the end. And for McTominay in Serie A, I think that I'm really, really curious to see how that works out for him. Antonio Conte's there. They've just signed Romelu Lukaku. He tends to do well every time he's in Serie A. It's Napoli's an interesting one in general because, again, last season was not good for Napoli at all, and that was the season after winning Serie A and also getting to the semi-final of the Champions League. And then when they go through 3 managers, obviously their manager Spalletti had left, and then he became Italy coach as well. But he left; he was going to be on a sabbatical, I think, and then he became the Italy coach. But Conte, when he's in Serie A, he tends to win it. Whether it's with Juventus, whether it's with Inter Milan. If he can do it again with Napoli, we'll see. So he's working with a very reputable coach. Obviously, the fan base there in Naples is incredibly fierce, incredibly strong. And it'll be interesting to see how well he sort of integrates and how much the fans kind of, pick him up. And seemingly play regularly in that team. And I think also from, again, a United point of view, for people that will go you see Oliver Skipp going for 25 million and McTominay's gone for a similar price to Napoli. What's so great about that? But you'd also say, again, this is a Serie A club. If there's anything that says Premier League tax and Premier League, how inflated and how ridiculous Premier League prices are, it is that Oliver Skipp can go from Spurs to Leicester for £25 million. That is the madness of the Premier League when it comes to finances. Across the continent, across Europe, they look at that and they're horrified. They're horrified. 30 million euros for Scott McTominay to Napoli represents a big transfer fee. They're like, woof, it's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. We are spending a lot of money there. So I think that, again, United, I think, have done good business with McTominay. I think that some of the narrative surrounding him over the last few years, I don't think has been particularly fair as well. And I know that he's put in there, isn't he, with this, in that pool of kind of divisive players. And I think the reason they're divisive is maybe just purely out of quality. But, in terms of being committed and in terms of giving everything and in terms of being as available as they possibly can, I think you give him credit for that. I think Erik ten Hag always praised him because he was always a top professional, scored late goals, won matches for Manchester United too, and and that's why he would always credit him for that. I think that he's a player that was, for the majority of his Man United career, was in the wrong position, misprofiled, as a defensive midfielder, as a 6, tried him as an 8, and then you only realise in the last couple of years, actually, it's as high up the pitch as you possibly can get him, arriving in the box, late periods of time, in and around the box. You'd almost hope the ball would fall to him in and around the box, because he'd probably get it on target. But when it comes to a sort of a natural conclusion for him, then that's now, isn't it? He's got a year left in his contract. Obviously an option for another year, but his time's coming to an end. He's, 27, I think? And then you have the natural conversation, don't you? Right, his contract's coming up. We're going to give him a deal to be here for 5 years. No, he's not really good enough. Well, then we'll sell him. That's how it is. That's how football works out. I think he played over 200 times for Manchester United. It's not always been great, and he's not the best technical footballer. That's why he's leaving Manchester United. You don't have to kick him on the way out, do you? So I think that, I think, I hope he does well. Wish him all the best. He's an academy player as well. You always like to see academy players come through and make it into the first team, which he has. And he has scored important goals in important games. Even last season, I think back to obviously the Brentford game. You're thinking FA Cup, scored against Liverpool, didn't he, at Old Trafford? He's been involved in some big moments in some big matches. So yeah, I hope he does well at Napoli, and I think it's a good deal all around by Manchester United, indeed. What else are people saying here in the chat at the moment? Shah says, wish all the best for McTominay. Dawood says, we need to let Eriksen go. Find a buyer and replace him quickly. There were some rumblings yesterday, wasn't there, about, once again, Ajax coming back in for Christian Eriksen. But the thing with, I suppose, with him is the fact that that deal probably could be done fairly quickly if someone did come in at the last minute. So there's a couple, isn't there, with United like that where you can say, watch this space. Eriksen could definitely be one of them. Show says, yes, he always played for the badge, but like many, kept him too long. Well, this is the thing, Show, I would say with that. When you say kept too long, it was last season. He was up for sale in the summer transfer window, and we couldn't sell him. There were talks about West Ham last season, weren't there too? That's why also I say that Ineos should be praised for this deal, because others have tried. Others have tried to sell some of these players and dramatically failed. In fact, some of these exits that have happened this summer, like McTominay, like Wan-Bissaka, I stand by my belief. It was the previous leadership team at Manchester United. They wouldn't have left. They would not have left if it was the previous leadership team. Wouldn't have happened. Even this summer, people were twitching and panicking because they're offering 20. They're offering 20. Oh, what should we do? What should we do? Get 12? Oh. They got what they wanted in the end. They got what they wanted, or close to what they wanted in the end when it came to that. And also, when it came to exit payments, they got that too. So if it was the previous leadership team, they'd have triggered the extension, and he'd have left on a free. Same with Aaron Wan-Bissaka. That's what would have happened. And a lot of the incomings that we've made this summer definitely wouldn't have happened. We'd have just signed Jared Brantwaite, 70 million. That would have been our summer. We'd have been like, well, we still got a lot of areas, but we got Jared Brantwaite in, £70 million. Yes, we've got that one centre back that we were looking for. That's it. We'd have lost Xerxes to AC Milan. We definitely wouldn't have got the two from Bayern because I don't know if you heard that story. I think it was Rob Dawson who told a story about Ed Woodward back in 2018 or something like that during Mourinho's last summer. There was stuff about signing, I can't remember who it was, but it was someone from Bayern Munich. And Jose had seemingly taken the journalist to one side and told the journalist that he wanted Manchester United. It might have been, who was it? I think it might have been Boateng. I forget, but it was a defender from Bayern Munich. And he wanted them to sign them. And United had said no, that they weren't going to do it, basically. And he told all these journalists. And then Ed Woodward, in another press conference, had come in before the press conference and basically got all of the journalists together and said to them, yeah, we're not going for this player, but this is why. The reason why is because we signed Bastian Schweinsteiger from Bayern Munich, and that didn't work out very well. So we're not going to sign players from Bayern Munich anymore. That's what he said. And you're thinking, like, how is a club, is that how they're operating? That is mad. That you've got the manager getting the press to one side going, I've asked, and they won't do it. And then you've got the CEO of the club a few days later going to the same group of players. Hey, we're being smart here. We're not doing it. That's what we're not doing. We're not going to buy him. Because I bought Schweinsteiger, the player that I said, that will send some shivers down some spines. That was wrong. So I'm not going to buy anyone from Bayern Munich ever again. That was Ed Woodward. That's how he was managing Manchester United. Oh my God. Through the media. And now you wonder why, because these medias, they're addicted. They're addicted to the leaks, aren't they? They're addicted to it because for the longest time, they just used to get given it. Easy. Go to press conferences. Off the record, manager will talk to you. CEO will talk to you. Anyone will talk to you about stuff. Now it's like, no, we're not going to talk to you about that. You'll find out when we have some news. You'll find out when we have some information. So now they've got that vacuum and they have to make shit up or just, guess. just keep guessing about stuff, and they don't like it as well. So when I heard that story from Rob Dawson, and I saw that he wrote it, it's either in an article or on Twitter, I was like, oh my God, that was Man United. How they were operating at the time. That is insane. And also just to be like, oh, we're never going to buy anyone from Bayern Munich ever again because of that. Oh, that's good. That seems very, very rational. So yes, my point being is the old leadership team, we wouldn't have done half the signings we did this summer. We wouldn't have done some of the exits that we've done this summer. We'd just be the same, really. That's what we would have done, That was about it. Redwan says, will Maguire, Lindelof and Evans all be gone together next season? Maybe we get a centre-back next season. Well, again, I think those things, definitely, Lindelof's going to go at the end of the season on a free, isn't he? I mean, they tried and talk about, digging your heels in. And they still talk about possibly Lazio and what have you, about being interested. But Lindelof's been injured all pre-season, that old chestnut. And so it looks like he's going to stay till the end of the season. I think Maguire will be next as well. I think Maguire will be next summer. He'll be the one that goes. That's the thing with some of those players that people do want to leave. Because like we said earlier on, it is difficult for Manchester United to move those players on. Sometimes it might just take another year. Might take another year. Might take a year of actually sitting on the bench for the majority of the time. To get the message across. Because last year, this is also the thing with some of the players. I don't particularly hold any grudges against the players. For instance, if I'm Harry Maguire, I think he's on 190k a week, and I get something go right. The club doesn't want you. Okay, cool. The club doesn't want me. Fine, I'll go find football elsewhere. And they go, we've accepted something from West Ham. You can go to West Ham. I go, cool. I'll go to West Ham if I'm not wanted here. And they go, right. So you're going to get a pay cut at West Ham. It's going to probably be like cut in half your wages or close to. And you go, okay, that's fine. I've got a couple years left on my contract at 190k. You going to figure that out, or what we're going to do? And then they go, wow, that's what I'm owed. And that's not Harry Maguire's fault. It's the same thing Raheem Sterling at the moment. Chelsea trying to move him on. Got 3 years left at like over 300k a week. That's his money. And plus bonuses and all that. You're telling me I just can't have that now? Because you signed a contract. What am I supposed to do? Turn it away? No thanks. Can't give me that money. That's the club's fault. They've got to get themselves out of it. And when it comes to Maguire last season, he played poker and he won. You should go. I think I should stay. I think I'll play. Well, you're not going to. He ended up playing quite a bit, didn't he? That's and he might think of it again. Hopefully this season it might be different for him. That's it. Scott Farrow says, sorry, that's nonsense. If you want to play, you take a pay cut and leave. Loads of people take pay cuts in jobs if they are unhappy. But they probably are happy. They've got a family here, they got family here. They're settled in Manchester. You think Phil Jones was unhappy? He was unhappy that his career was ending and he was injured, but he knew he was going to get that money. And they got a base salary. That's what they got to pay each week. Again, that's the club's fault. I would never bemoan a player for trying to get what is owed to them in that scenario, right? When it comes to, I think someone said there that money is not owed to them. If you put pen to paper and they've signed a contract and the club has signed a contract, obviously your salary might go down if you're not playing a little bit and all that kind of stuff, and you might not get certain bonuses if you're not playing, if you're sequestered away. But that's why Flex always brings it up. There was the Aubameyang thing when he was at Arsenal, and we got into have him in training at some point because again we have to. It's been a contract, You can't just be like, oh, we're just not going to pay you. Why? Well, because you didn't leave. So Let's see what happens when that goes to like arbitration or goes to court or anything like that. It's a bit different. If I remember when, was it Diego Costa when he was at Chelsea, he just went away to Brazil or something like that for a while, didn't he? But if you're at the training ground, if you show up to work every single day and you do your training and you do exactly what you're supposed to do, even if they say you're training with the under-21s and you do your training, you do exactly what is done by the letter of your contract, they can't force you to go unless they're going to pay you off, with that kind of stuff. With those kind of contracts, what are they going to do? And then people just go, just rip up the contract. They have to, because when you rip up the contract, you have to pay them. You have to give them that. That's why the whole tear up the contract thing is nonsense. Like, just rip up his contract, then bring so-and-so in. Well, you're going to have to pay him off anyway with that. That's how it is with those things. So, and again, I don't bemoan the player for that. That's the club's fault. It's not the player's fault they offered him a lot of money. Like, even with Anthony, it's not his fault. Man United went, here's like 200k a week when you weren't on anywhere near that at Ajax. They put themselves in a bad position. That's it. So, it's and that was funny with the Wan-Bissaka stuff when that happened in the window, because there was a period of time. It was a period of time when literally between 2 days, I'm really going to miss Wan-Bissaka. Oh, the move's being held up because he wants to get the rest of his contract paid off. How very greedy of him. How dare he? He should go. You go, well, that's the players. That's what they're owed. Blame the clubs. They're the ones that give them the stupid contracts in the first place. That's it. And they'll just say, I'll show up to training every single day. Like if Raheem Sterling doesn't leave Chelsea, put it this way. If he doesn't leave Chelsea and they don't figure out how to pay him off, all that kind of stuff, he will show up to Chelsea every day, go to training, won't be training with the first team, be training individually or with the under-21s, under-23s or whatever. They'll still have to pay him. Like, you can't just go, no, you can't. We're not going to now. Why? Because you're not going, because you didn't accept to move elsewhere. It's not my problem. That's you got to figure that one out. That's not for us. So, and if you don't like it, then that's unfortunately how football is nowadays. That's it. Super Chat here says, a lot of people are revealing they don't think of players as actual people just because they're paid a lot. They're employees. They have rights. It's true. It's true. And again, when it comes to the money and stuff like that, I know people can say, oh, they're greedy because it's a lot of money. But as R mentions there in the chat, Sterling is owed close to 70 million quid. And I know he's already a multi-millionaire, but it doesn't matter. If you're owed that amount of money, you'd be like, I'm getting that amount of money. Particularly then if you think that they're wronging you as well. Can you imagine that? He was on pre-season. He thought he was going to be involved in Chelsea. And they say, oh, well, actually, we don't want you anymore. You go, okay, if you don't want me, but you owe me a lot of money, so you're going to get it. So the Frankie de Jong thing at Man United, I didn't even blame him for that. He was owed a shit ton of money. He's on a massive wage at Barcelona, which, again, is not his fault. And then because of COVID or whatever, he had deferred wages, so he had a huge amount of money, even more money owed to him as well. And, yeah, go get it. It's yours. Yes, that's what's owed to you. Yeah, and that's wild. Imran says he's only owed that money if he provides service at Chelsea for the rest of his contract. But this is the point I'm making, Imran. Even if he doesn't play, right, and he is exiled, it's a bit like the Jadon Sancho thing, right, when last season with United. When he was exiled and he wasn't playing, certain things will come down. Bonuses won't be hit. But then he will still have a base salary each week. There will still be a limit to what it goes down to. So he would still be owed that. There would still be a minimum amount that he was owed at that period of time. So again, it's the whole thing around contracts. It's just I really don't think people understand it, and they can just be ripped up. Or if you're told, you've got to leave. Okay, so it's not as simple as that, is it? It's not, and that's also why when it comes to this Sterling stuff, I want United just to stay clear of that. There is so much stuff that needs to be figured out with Raheem Sterling and Chelsea financially, with the amount of time he's got left on his deal, the amount of money he's got left that's owed to him. Even if he wanted to take a lot away from it, his base salary, if you scaled it down, would still be a significant amount. Bear in mind too that I know they're in the Europa Conference League this season. They ain't been in the Champions League in a couple of years, so I'm sure their things have come down anyway because of not being in the Champions League drop off. So imagine what it would be. It's and for people that can't figure it out, I would recommend to look into those things, because it's very, you realize again how much power the players have, because again that's what's held up a lot of these United things too. Nigel says, have you seen the tweet Martin Ziegler tweeted on Chelsea regarding how big the challenge is to comply with UEFA's financial rules this season? I did see that. Chelsea are in a bit of trouble when it comes to that, because essentially one of the big things that Chelsea did to kind of circumnavigate some of the FFP and PSR rules in the Premier League is they sold off these like properties that they owned to sister companies they already owned. So it wasn't really, they weren't really selling them, but they were moving things across. And UEFA went, can't do that. And they said, what? No, we can't. You can't do that. We don't accept that. And they're like, oh shit, we don't accept that. Oh dear. Well, what are we going to do then? And I'm surprised, honestly, that the Premier League accepted that as well, because it is such a loophole, isn't it? It's such a massive loophole. What does that have to do with football at all? We overspent and overpaid for a bunch of football players, and we didn't do very well in the league, so we're going to sell a hotel. Player hotel, they're the same thing, you know. And the problem is with that is, on paper, they've basically said that is the same thing. They're assets, you know. So we've sold an asset in a player, we've sold an asset in a hotel, same thing. And then, thankfully, UEFA have sort of seen some sense of that and just sort of gone, yeah, but they're not. One's got to do with football, one's really got nothing to do with football. You know, you put in the hotel left back, you know, in your Europa Conference League games. I don't think you are. I'm not really sure what that's got to do with any of them. But that's what Chelsea do. They're good at finding their loopholes. So much so that some of them have been closed because Chelsea managed to find them in the first place. So it'll be interesting to see. To be honest, though, I still don't doubt they'll be able to find a way around it, because that's what they do, you know. So yes. Right, let's move on. Let's talk about Jadon Sancho quickly. The latest when it comes to him. There was a lot of information out there yesterday about Sancho and what have you, wasn't there? There was a report from Fabrice Hawkins saying that, you know, this loan with an obligation had been agreed, and then there was backtracking saying that's not the case. While Gianluca Di Marzio said Juventus' offer to Manchester United for Jadon Sancho was a loan fee of around £6 to £7 million, including bonuses and a partial coverage of his salary. The suggestion is that maybe there wasn't this sort of obligation or option, it was just a straight loan. As far as possible other things, according to Fabrizio Romano on his playback channel, he was saying that Manchester United are discussing internally whether to take Raheem Sterling in a swap deal for Jadon Sancho. Eric Ten Hag and the board and Dan Ashworth are considering the option. I think with this, it feels more and more likely to me that the option Man United really wants is the Juventus one, which does give me some element of comfort. It also gives me an element of comfort that the Rio Ferdinand gif he tweeted of him smiling or whatever was just a thing he did with Ronaldo on his YouTube channel, because when I saw that a couple of days ago, I nearly had a heart attack. I thought, oh my God, this is going to be another like Raheem Sterling thing happening. So yesterday there was a bit of backtracking with the whole Sancho stuff, because, you know, Fabrice Hawkins came out and said that about Sancho, and that Juventus, they had this bid accepted with a loan with an obligation. And whenever that happens, you kind of get two things, don't you? You get one, which is, you know, so you get a journalist that isn't like an Ornstein or a Romano or someone like that say it. They do it. And then very quickly, you'll see Romano or Ornstein put out something similar, and which is basically, yep, I've heard the same thing. That's happening. Hat tip to this person. They did it first. And yesterday, that didn't happen with the Fabrice Hawkins stuff, did it? He came out and he said it, and everyone kind of went a bit quiet, and you thought, well, that's interesting, because he's kind of the only one really sort of saying this. What is very apparent is, certainly United and Juventus are in talks. They're in deep negotiations, and Juventus seemingly just want to do like a straight loan, coverage of salary, a loan fee, and United are basically going, we want an obligation to buy. We want, you know, this to be resolved. We don't want in a year's time to have to circle back to this, because we already did that last season with Dortmund and Sancho. We don't want to have to do this all again next year. We just want it to be sorted. We just want to get a fee, and we just want to be able to kind of sort of move on, really. And I suppose that's maybe where Chelsea feel like they still might be in the game, perhaps with it, in the sense that they might think, well, as long as Juventus are haggling for a loan and we can offer a permanent situation or permanent solution, maybe that's where we're still in the race, perhaps. But the only way that Sancho ends up going to Chelsea is if there's a player going the other way, a bit similar to, João Felix and Conor Gallagher and that whole fiasco. But again, with how complicated it is with Raheem Sterling, let alone, I just don't think it's a move United should be doing anyway. I just don't. I did a load on it yesterday. I just don't feel like that's the move for United to do at this stage in Sterling's career and what we need, and also just honestly the specificity that would have to be as in that Sancho deal for me personally to be like, I can kind of get my head around why United would do that. I just don't see that happening. I mean, I mentioned yesterday my conditions for Sterling to come in would be like 2-year deal, 100k a week or something. That'd be the time where I go, all right, fair enough. Okay, cool. Cool. I'll go with that. But I just can't see that one happening. I can't see him going for that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I would prefer the Juventus one. Hopefully it can result in a permanent solution. But this is definitely now, with the Ugarte deal now being done, this is the one to watch, isn't it? This is the one to watch for the next 24 hours. What happens with Jadon Sancho? What happens with Raheem Sterling? Does it result in panic stations tomorrow on deadline day? Because the reality starts to hit in for both players that it's going to be a very long few months until January if they don't secure a deal. For Jadon Sancho, it could be sort of the same thing that happened to him last season, right? I remember all that blow up happened. What was it? Just over a year ago now, wasn't it? Because coming into deadline day, it was like, oh, is Sancho going to go? What's happened after deadline day? I forget. It happened after deadline day. But I think that was it. I think it happened after deadline day. But there was the Saudi and Turkish window. I think that was it, wasn't it? I think it happened after deadline, but there was still like a week left for those clubs. And it was like, oh, maybe he could go there. And I think he did have that Saudi option, but he said no. Or was it Al Ettifaq or they pulled out? Something like that. So he might be thinking a similar, am I going to have now, once again, a few months when I'm not playing? Which I don't know if that would necessarily be the case if he didn't leave. I do feel like he would be kind of involved, but obviously the desire, I think, for everyone is to move him on. So, it's definitely one to watch. Definitely one to watch. If I had to predict right now, I feel like he'll end up going to Juventus. I do. I do feel for Raheem Sterling because, as I mentioned earlier on, I don't know what he's going to do. I really don't. Unless I could see Sterling securing a loan somewhere and Chelsea end up having to pay a lot of his salary because I just don't see how that big a payoff's going to be sorted out. And Chelsea also, they're very tight when it comes to all of their PSR and FFP stuff. So I really don't know. There was something from Jacob Steinberg, who is very close to, obviously, Chelsea in his reporting, but he also said Erik ten Hag was going to be sacked regardless of the outcome of the FA Cup final. Didn't happen. But he said that Jadon Sancho is keen on a Chelsea move, but Juventus is still pushing for the Man United winger. Enzo Maresca, he's not shutting it down. The Chelsea head coach, again, warns that Sterling will not play for him. So 24 hours to go when it comes to all of that. 24 hours to go. It's certainly going to be one to watch. A reminder when it comes to all this later on today. If we do get anything with, obviously, Manuel Ugarte, I'll be here. I'll be live. We'll give you all the quotes and all that kind of stuff. Full view this evening as well, 6 p.m. Plenty to discuss on the road to facing off against Liverpool at the weekend. And also a bit of a reminder when it comes to what's happening tomorrow. We can get the new graphics up on the screen. Tomorrow will be the morning transfer view, 9 a.m. as per usual. Also a reminder, tomorrow, Europa League draw. We're going to find out who we're facing in the new look Europa League. That should be 12 p.m. And also there'll be an episode of the Trinity podcast coming at 6 p.m. Also on top of that, deadline day is tomorrow. So we'll have the usual countdown to to the window shutting, beginning at 9 p.m. till the window shutting, I think, is at 11. So it's the traditional deadline day stream, 2 hours and all that fun stuff. So that will all be coming in the future as well. But today we'll have the full view at 6 and also anything else that happens in between. Appreciate everyone that's tuned in. Appreciate everyone that's got involved in the chat. I appreciate everyone that's hit the like button. We're only 6 likes away from 700. Let's see if we can get to 750 likes on the way out, and be sure to subscribe as well. Bottom right hand corner to make the top right hand corner move and get closer to 176,000 on the long road to 200k. Yes, everything's happening here at United View, so hopefully, well, we will be back later on. Peace.